In Shakespearean sonnets, there is a general order or format to each sonnet. Usually there is some kind of idea, situation, or problem, and that problem or idea is created in the first 8 to 12 lines of the sonnet. And then the remaining lines of the sonnet include some kind of conclusion to that idea or to that problem. So, for each of the sonnets that we're going to read for this week, I would like you to identify the idea, situation, or problem, and then I'd also like you to identify the conclusion. I'm going to do the first one with you so that you get an idea of exactly how this works. So, first thing you should always do when confronted with a poem is read it the first time just to get a general idea of the poem. If you have not already read Sonnet 29 before starting this video, please pause the video now and read Sonnet 29 at least once through. Okay, so by now I'm assuming that you have read Sonnet 29. I'm assuming that you did pause the video if you needed to. And I'd like to go ahead and go through this one with you. Remember, we're looking for some kind of situation, some kind of problem that Shakespeare sets up in the opening lines. Best way to go about this is go through it line by line slowly and put each line in your own words. Make it more modern. Yes, this does take a little bit of time, but poems are short, and it should be taking you longer than 15 or 20 seconds to work through a poem in order to actually understand it. So let's take a look at the opening lines. When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state. So what's going on in these lines? Well, he's beweeping his outcast state, so apparently he's not too thrilled with his situation in life. So, poet is not happy with his place in life. And troubled deaf heaven with my bootless cries. Okay, so if you go to the bottom, bootless means futile, which means he feels that they're not doing any good. And look upon myself and curse my fate. So he's shouting up to heaven, why? Why is this happening to me? Why am I cursed? Wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed. So he wishes he were like somebody else, somebody who has hope, somebody who has friends, desiring this man's art and that man's scope. And if you take a look, you can find the definition of scope along the side. So, the poet wishes that he were someone else. Someone who has hope. Art. Riches in general. With what I most enjoy contented least. So he doesn't find contentment in anything. Basically, this guy, this poet, is absolutely miserable with his life. Yet in these thoughts, yet signifies there's some kind of change here going on. There's some switch. Yet in these thoughts, myself almost despising, haply I think on thee, and then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. So he hates himself for thinking like this. Okay. But now we have a conclusion. Now we have we've solved this problem. Haply I think on thee. So, just by random chance, he thinks on this person. And then my state, like to the lark at break of day. So here's this idea of hope. The new day, this bird singing. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. So, in conclusion, he thinks of this person. And we don't know who that person is. We have no idea. And suddenly, he not only feels better, but he realizes that his life is pretty darn good. In fact, it's so good, because this love exists with this person, that he wouldn't even switch his life with a king. Okay. So in this particular sonnet, we have the idea, situation, or problem set up through lines 1 through 8. Okay. Then we hit line 9, we get that yet, so we get that switch in the poem, and that's where the conclusion starts. So pay attention very carefully for kind of words that give you an indication that there is an idea switch. You're going to go through the rest of the poems. Remember, put them into your own words. Take the time to look at each line and say to yourself, what is this actually saying? And then paraphrase it into, first, the idea, situation, or problem, and then paraphrase the end, the conclusion. As always, if you have any questions or problems, please let me know. Thanks.